Rob, this Taliban offensive has been gaining steam for the past few weeks. At this point, is it unstoppable?
You know, it certainly begins to look as though it's unstoppable, given what we've seen just over the last few days, with 6 provincial capitals falling to the Taliban, including Saripul and Taloqan in the north, both significant, and Zaranj in the southwest on the Iranian border, big town there, with fighting going on in other big centres as well, Herat in the west, Lashkar Gah in Helmand, long a centre of battles between the Afghan government and the Taliban, but fighting in Kandahar province as well. And then that big one that we heard of over the weekend, with Kunduz falling. Kunduz is a town of 375,000 people, not some small provincial town, a really significant communications and commercial hub, very near to the border with Tajikistan, and important, amongst other things, for the heroin trade and for the opium trade. For that to fall into the hands of the Taliban is really significant and symbolically important as well, because back in 2001, it's where the Taliban surrendered after their defeat against the coalition forces, where they had to lay down their arms. But for them to capture it is really important. However, there has to be a caveat about this. The Taliban are quite clearly overstretched. They have about 55,000 active fighters. And the question will be, can they hold it? They've taken control of Kunduz a couple of times in the past, 2015, 2016, but had to cede it both times. The same could be happening now.
Rob, why does the Afghan military seem to be collapsing, and what does it say about the government's control on the country?
Yeah, I mean, this is the big question that experts have been struggling to come up with reasonable answers about. Because on paper, the Afghan army really ought not to be struggling. It has over 300,000 men on paper. In reality, on a day-to-day basis, probably considerably less than that. But it's massively funded. About $6 billion US worth of spending every year that goes on. Salaries, equipment, training, all those sort of things, which on paper at least you would think would add up to a significant, well-trained military force. But the reality is that it's not quite like that. The Taliban, with just 55 to 85,000 men at its disposal, seems to be putting up more than significant resistance. So the question is why? And it boils down to a number of things, I think. One of them is corruption. Another is bad leadership. The money often does not reach the men in the field. Plus, of course, the psychological significance of the US withdrawal. It's not about the number of men that are withdrawing, because the US had already run down their troops considerably anyway. It's the psychological blow of seeing the United States pull out.
Rob Parsons, thanks for that.